News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number. That's 800-288-9227. Do you think the jury will believe Michael Cohen? And do you believe him? He started testifying today. How likely do you think Trump is to win this case? And do you agree that the outcome of this case could literally change who wins the election this fall? Wow. Now, a quick thing. I told the caller, I'm like, maybe we'll talk. I wasn't sure. Because he basically clearly, the last caller, he clearly hates Trump. And that's fine. I mean, I don't agree with him in any way, shape, or form, and he's been a Republican since day one. That's fine. I didn't get to ask him about whether or not he'll vote for Biden, because that would be shocking, because he talked about character and stuff like that. And Biden's character is, honestly, to me, just as bad, is not worse, as he was alleging, this caller. But here's the thing. You can hate him, but it's not about that. And that's what I was trying to get over with the gentleman. I was like, okay, well, tell me what about the case? What the questions I asked were? And he's like, well, what were the questions? Like, he didn't listen to the questions. He just wanted to say how Trump was horrible. That's fine, but the questions are, if you want to call back, the questions are this. We have 4 lines open. Joe and Alan, we're going to talk to you in 1 sec. And the questions I'm asking are, do you think the jury will believe Michael Cohen? Do you believe him? And then, do you believe Michael Cohen? How likely do you think Trump is to win this case? And do you agree that the outcome of this case could literally change who wins the election this fall? 800-288-WBAP is our number. That's 800-288-9227. Here's what I want to tell you. I think there's a chance that one to three of the jurors will just say that this, because the case is truly pathetic and there's no legal merit for this. I will quickly remind you, the Federal Elections Commission looked at this and didn't even fine Trump because there was no violation. Also, I will remind you that the Biden Justice Department looked at it, and they would love to prosecute him, and they found no case in this. That's why the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York did not prosecute, because there was no case there. He investigated, but there was no case. And lastly, the previous DA of Manhattan, Cy Vance, looked at this case and said, there is nothing here. I'm not prosecuting it. And lastly, the current DA, Alvin Bragg, looked at it and said, there is nothing here. I will not prosecute it. And then one of his top prosecutors resigned because he wouldn't prosecute Trump over it, and then wrote a book about it, scathing and attacking Alvin Bragg for it. So that's when Alvin Bragg changed his mind and said, okay, fine, I changed my mind. I will now prosecute it. He revived a misdemeanor case that was past the statute of limitations. And the way he claims he can revive it is by bootstrapping it to a federal felony, which no feds ever prosecuted, said there was no case. And then, because it's a federal felony in his eyes, he's prosecuting for a federal felony, which revives the statute of limitations and puts this back on life support, which is, again, that's how pathetic this is, okay? But there's a 95% Democrat jury pool. They hate Trump for the most part in New York, like our last caller hated Trump. And so they will most likely vote to convict just because of that. But the problem is, if you actually follow the jury instructions and you're honest, there's no case. You could viscerally hate Trump, like our last caller, and still not convict him because of, like, I hate him. I will never vote for him. I hope he, drops dead of natural causes. And you could say that. But if you're honest, you wouldn't convict. But if you are one juror or one of 3 jurors that ends up saying there's nothing to convict on, you then would have to risk the mob coming for you, canceling you, losing your job, losing your home, and being moving and taking a horrible loss on your sale of your house, being terrorized. That could happen. So maybe you end up saying, screw it, I don't want to be that guy, so I'm not going to convict, even though I know there's no case. How wild is all this? And then last, I leave you with the fact that many people have said that if Trump's convicted of one of these cases, they would change their mind from voting for him to voting against him, or maybe not voting. So with that, that's why I ask you those questions. One line is now open. Let's go to Joe and Alan. Joe, you are on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Chris. How's it going tonight?
All right, brother. Thanks.
Hey, So I've got two ways this plays out. One, I don't think that any of those jurors are not going to convict him. They've already got their minds made up. It doesn't matter what they think. You might find, like you said, one honest person with integrity, but I doubt it. And in that case, even if he does get convicted, I don't think that will affect the race at all. I think you're going to have your people to vote for Trump and Biden. I don't think it's going to sway the independents. They see how wrong this is. The problem I have is I don't think he's going to win the election anyway, because I think it's already rigged. They've already got it rigged somehow, and they've got my second point is, right now they're going through the House of Representatives, and they've got Marjorie Taylor Greene, in my opinion, compromised because she knows better than this. She knows that if she continues to do this, Hakeem Jeffries will be the Speaker of the House, and if this vote they don't get a majority of the electoral college, that this will go to the House, and as Speaker, he will be able to set the terms, and Joe Biden will be president again. And
like in a Venezuelan style rigging.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's just focus on only one thing, though. I think you went off in too many different things. I want to hyper focus on this one case, and I want you to understand what I believe is the fact on this, that the people that say they might change their vote, or they would if he's convicted, will not understand it enough and will get their news from the mainstream that has attorneys come on that act like this is a legitimate case and pretend it is and try to give it all credibility, and those people will say, okay, this is a credible case, I will not vote for him because of this, he's a convicted felon. Now
I agree. We have that.
Okay, and that's going to be the problem. I think those people will turn, and I hope not. I hope their wallets and their livelihood says, I can't vote for this. This case is not big enough of a deal. I'm going to stick with Trump. I'm voting for him and screw it. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. I wish I knew. We have two lines open at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Jesse in Fort Worth, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, I can't believe you're as pessimistic as you are about this, because as I was telling your screen caller, I went to bed about 2 o'clock that morning after the 20 election, and I knew Trump had won. And by the time I got up and got ready to go to work, all of a sudden this joker got 82 million votes, and Trump got 72 million? No. And I say that to say this. You know, Jesus said this in Genesis 12:3. I will bless them that bless thee, and I will curse them that curse thee. He was talking about Israel. And right now, if Biden win again, America, as we know it, is done. Because this man done already have the world at war.
There's a lot. Yes, you're right. And there's a lot of people that run this administration that are far worse and far more leftist and progressive than anybody in President Hussein Obama's previous administration. All right. So do you think the jury will believe Cohen? Do you believe him? And how likely is it that Trump will win this case? And do you agree that the outcome of this case could literally change who wins the election this fall?
I think it depends on a spiritual aspect. And I think that, because you can intend to do something, but spiritually, you prohibit it. And I think those people are going to sit there and listen to this stuff, especially when the cross-examination comes, and they're going to see, this ain't working.
Even though they may all be Democrat and hate Trump.
You hate America.
Don't worry about that.
You hate Trump.
You're not going to change their mind, though. So
I didn't vote for McCain.
So my point being, though, let me just repeat this. My point being, though, even though they may all on that jury hate Trump, you still think somehow they're going to be convinced enough of them to say, I can't convict. That's what you're saying.
I think the Lord would not allow them to.
Okay.
convict.
Well, what if he wants to? Because, then that's it. So we'll see. Lou in Flower Mound and Catherine in Fort Worth, you guys are next. Also, more in the analysis on this case from the great attorney and Fox News contributor, Jonathan Turley. We now have two lines open. We also have Armandia coming up as well from Arlington. So those calls are next on the Chris Crock Show, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Alvin Bragg started with testimony on the killing of a story by David Pecker, the former National Enquirer publisher, on an uncharged transaction to kill a story of Trump affair with a different woman, Karen McDougal, former Playboy playmate. The relevancy was marginal, but the testimony backfired in that Pecker admitted Trump told him that he knew nothing about any reimbursement to Cohen for any hush money. He further said he had killed or raised such stories with Trump for decades before he even ever announced for president. He also said that he had killed stories for other celebrities and politicians, including Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tiger Woods, Rahm Emanuel, and Mark Wahlberg. So there you go. Those are all celebrities and politicians that had nothing to do with elections, and they had done this for Trump for years, even before there was ever an election. So there you go. But that doesn't mean that a 95% Democrat jury pool won't convict him, even though it's pathetic and there's no case. And if there's a conviction, there's a good amount of people who have said they would reconsider their vote, and then Trump might lose it because of a bogus case like this. Do you think the jury will believe Michael Cohen? Do you believe him? And how likely do you think Trump is to win this case? And do you agree the outcome of this case could literally change who wins the election this fall? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Catherine in Fort Worth, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP.
WBAP? Okay, got it. Now, last week we spoke, Chris, and I warned you about these people that don't know much about law and don't know much about trials, that if you got convicted, there would be some, let's just say, the ignorant masses that might change their vote and say, you know, oh, he's a convicted felon. And, you know, it's a crock up, you know, but they don't know. Okay. Now, the other thing I worry about, so I'm with you. I was with you last week, before you got to this. But now, think about this. Usually, as weak as this case is, there'd be somebody on that jury that, I don't care if they are blue dog or yellow dog Democrats, there'd be somebody who would see the light. But they could have, we don't know if they cheated. We don't know if those two attorneys on the jury, they could be plants. If they are attorneys worth their salt, they're going to know this case was weak and that they didn't prove it. Mm-hmm. So let's watch what they do. If they go ahead and vote guilty, they were a plant. Now, can I do anything about that? No. But I'm just saying, they don't intend to lose. Whatever they have to do, just like the last election, they don't intend to lose. They don't intend to lose this election.
So therefore, you're saying that the jury will probably not. The jury will probably believe Michael Cohen, even though you don't believe him. Do you think the jury will?
Oh, I think that Mr. Cohen's a screwball. I have since way back then.
But you think the jury will believe him and convict?
Well, I'm afraid they will. That's what I'm afraid of, like that other man. But I don't hate Trump. I love Trump.
I know. And do you agree the outcome is actually going to literally change who wins the election based on this case?
I don't know. I think it depends on campaigning and how big a mouth we people have that.
But what about the people saying that if he's convicted of any of these cases, and this is going to be the only one, that they would reconsider their vote?
Well, they're stupid. That's all I can say.
Well, aren't there enough of them out there that are stupid people?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for your great call. Let's go to one of my favorite callers, Armandina from Arlington. You are on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hello, Armandina.
Oh, hi. So
I think you need a theme song. Armandina of Arlington. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's funny. It's twofold. It's a smoke and mirror. If they accuse him, if he gets accused guilty, the other smoke and mirror side of that is that there's not enough poll watchers. So once the polls close, that's when the shenanigans happen. The directors at the polling places, they'll tell, okay, y'all can go home now. But then waiting off in the wings in the parking lot somewhere in the corner in the dark, they come out and they tell like the security guard that's guarding the place, oh, we forgot our purse. We need to go back inside. and then they already have it all where they're just going to quickly, make a swap or.
So you're saying it doesn't. You're saying that literally you don't care how this case goes out. You don't care whether they convict or not. It's not even a question in your eyes whether they're convicted or not. It's like whatever. You just think it'll be rigged because of the voting stuff, and that therefore this trial and any convictions are irrelevant.
I think President Trump is going to win either way. President Trump has the people coming out. I mean, the other day, 50.
What about these people who say they will not vote for him if he's convicted? This percentage of people that will vote for him but will change their vote based on the outcome of any of these cases, which this is going to be the only one.
Well, then, quite honestly, I really do. I find that hard to believe. I guess it's possible because a lot of people are not educated as to what's going on. But as far as it being rigged.
No, I got you on that, but I just want to stick to this. I'm depressed. You're another one saying yes, the outcome will affect it, and there's a lot of dumb people out there. I got to roll, Armandina, but please don't stop the calls. They're good. All right, we got Bob in Mesquite. Can we have time? We'll pop you on real fast, Bob. Go. You're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Go, Bob.
Yeah, Chris, I was just curious about something you said earlier about there were two attorneys on that jury. Mm-hmm. I know that adds a little bit of a legitimacy to the jury if they convict him and say, well, he's got two attorneys on there. These guys, if they sold out their integrity, of course, it might not matter. I think they are determined that he is going to be guilty. That's why it's all set up this way. So I'd vote for him anyway, even if he goes to jail. All
right, brother. Appreciate your call. This is depressing, guys. Very depressed. I didn't want to whiz in your Cheerios tonight, but it's good to hear from you on this. And I'm going home depressed on this, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, my gosh. Here we are again. Up next, as promised, we're going to talk about has Target changed its mind on the LGBTQIA displays for Pride Month? Are they rolling it back or are they going full speed ahead? You're going to love hearing about this one. But that's just a little quick one. Then tolls. A whole bunch of stories come out today from the Dallas Morning News. Do you prefer paying more for tolls instead of waiting in traffic? Oh, boy. All that's next on the Chris Crock Show, 820 AM, now on FM at 93.3. By the way, our number is 800-288-WVAP, 800-288-9227. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. That's 800-288-9227. All right, y'all. So we're going to get to toll fees and avoiding them and all sorts of stuff in a moment. But first, Target is limiting LGBTQ-themed merchandise for Pride Month after a massive blowback. We won again. See that? First, it was the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light fiasco. Bud Light said just the other day, it was in the news, once again, they're still hurting horribly. They still are. There was no comeback. Remember how they did a big comeback, trying to come back and get re-mainstreamed again? There's been no comeback. You cannot come back from Dylan Mulvaney woke. Target lost. And there is no comeback for Target. And so, therefore, to attempt to win us back, they have pulled some of its Pride Month clothing. Hold on. Let me say it this way. I'm going to quote Breitbart, who is quoting CNN and is giving their take in this news coverage. Headline, Target limiting LGBTQ-themed merchandise for Pride Month after massive blowback. Target said it will only offer Pride-themed items in select stores after having sold the merchandise in every one of its locations across America for the past 10 years. So it's only going to be in some. There is a massive rollback. The store, it continues on from this CNN report. The outlet said items that received backlash included swimsuits designed by some trans people and designs from a company that makes satanic-themed LGBTQ merchandise. Wow. Per the CNN article, half the company's stores, they have 2,000 stores, half will sell LGBTQ stuff. It'll also have the merchandise for purchase online. The outlet continues, CNN. The changes are a sensible approach, said the managing director of retail for Global Data, told CNN, but he warned it runs the risk of Target being accused of not being proud of Pride. That's funny. I'm not proud of Pride. What? I have no pride in Pride. What? Unfortunately for Target, it has been dragged into culture wars and is in a position where it can't win whatever it does. Yeah! In 2023 May, Target shareholders lost $9 billion, as in boy, B as in boy, in stock market value because of this whole thing. There you go. It's advocacy for transgenderism. We win again, guys. We won in Bud Light. We won in Target. Let that be a good boost to you. Now, the wallet, hitting them where it hurts is in the wallet, all right? Tollway. I knew immediately when I saw this, we were going to be talking about it tonight on the Chris Crock Show. Here, a couple of headlines for the Dallas Morning News before we get into this. Want to go faster on North Texas roads? Get out your wallet. Another article today. Toll road fees can be unpredictable in Texas. This driver prefers traffic over paying. And there's more, but let me just share with you some highlights. They talk about the dynamic pricing. You know that, right? That when during heavy traffic, the tolls get more expensive. During light traffic, it's very much less. Quote, we added 2 million people and our congestion levels barely changed, says one of the people in this article. If you're super rich, $20 is nothing to you for a one-way. But if you're poor, $20 is a massive amount. All right? Then we have this separate article highlighting a woman who is in charge. She works over at, where does she work at? It's the Salmons Center for the Arts in downtown Dallas. She's the executive director, and she's worked there for 30 years. So the point being, she lives in South Lake. So she's not hurting for money, but she still chooses to stay off the highways, the tollways. You know what's amazing? One of my former co-workers, literally, and I've been in his house. He's a sweet man. He helped me out one time in a bind and watched my young boy and young girl for a couple hours while I did a remote in the area there. I love the guy, and I miss him, but we used to work together here. But anyway, he was a cheapskate on this, and he refused. And believe me, he and his wife have done very well over the years, and I have no ill will towards him, and I'm proud of him. He's a dear friend. But he refused to do the toll roads. And that blew me away. I'm like, you? Yep. And I always think about that. I think about that from time to time. I don't avoid tollways. But here's what I did. When I went to buy my house, I specifically refused to buy off the tollway. You know why? I ain't paying $100 a month just because I live. That's like adding $100 a month to your mortgage payment. That's how I looked at it. I will not do that. And actually, it's probably more like $200 a month adding to your mortgage, right? So here, it depends on where you live and which toll road it is. I understand that. It depends on dynamic pricing, you know. So here's what I do. This is my philosophy, and I want to know yours. All right? Do you prefer paying more for tolls instead of waiting in traffic? All right? Do you prefer paying more for tolls instead of waiting in traffic? What do you do? Do you avoid tollways at all costs, or do you just go through them and deal with them as part of the cost of living? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Are you okay with waiting in traffic a lot more and taking out longer in exchange to save that money? Or is it worth the hit to pay it? 800-288-WBAP. Here's how my philosophy is. Number one, I chose to not live off of a tollway. That way, this is not a problem with me. Number two, therefore, when I'm in a hurry, particularly it might be for a client meeting that's on the other side of the Metroplex, or for a work thing that is, whatever, here's what I do. When I go to work, most days, I drive in halfway on the tollway. But on the way home, never use the tollway because I live off of the non-tollway. But I use the tollway when it matters. Okay? If I have an important meeting with somebody, it doesn't even have to be a client meeting. It might be one of my dear friends. If I have, or something like that, and I'm late, which I'm always late. So if it's one of those things where I respect this person and I can't be late because it's like they have, we're having lunch while they're working, or if it's a client meeting where I can't be late because it's embarrassing and it hurts my chances of the client being happy, I will take the tollway, and I won't care what the price is. I'll get butthurt by it, but I won't even know what the amount is. I just go. I don't budget it. I just go. But I only use tollways. My tollway bill is about $80 a month on a regular month. That's how, you know what I mean? Between my wife and me. Okay? Unless she has a client and where she's heavy on the tollway. Okay, but she does write that off as her business. All right. So typically our bill is $80 a month. Does that make sense now? I mean, that's a very reasonable tollway bill for me. Okay, that's including my wife and me and my daughter who uses our car. All right, my son's on his own toll tag on his own car. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. How do you handle toll roads? Do you avoid them at all costs? Is it a thing of principle? Is it worth it to you to take an extra half hour or hour to work just to save $10-20? Now, here's the thing. That's why you don't live in an area where you always have to take the toll if you want to be on time. So this lady undoubtedly has done very well financially. She lives in she's in Grapevine. I'm sorry, she's not in South Lake. But nonetheless, I'm sure she's got a wonderful home. And I'm sure she does very well. And I admire her wisdom. I don't knock her. I'm just saying I would never do that. I would never want to live like that. And maybe you're like, well, Chris, that's why there's people have lots of money and others like us are not well off. Maybe you're right. But I think if you don't live off the tollway, it's not an issue. So when I'm late or when the time matters and I need it, I'll take the tollway. But half the time, I'm not on the tollway. It balances out. Trust me, if my toll bill is like $100 or $150, I will crap a brick, as they say. All right? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. How do you handle the toll roads? What's your philosophy on them? And do you freak out and get mad about the dynamic pricing where it goes high, where it's really high when you're on the in heavy traffic, or what? All right, let's see. Do we have time, or should we hold Scott? Yeah, okay, good. Let's take Scott and Rowlett. You are on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hello, Scott.
Yeah, my biggest complaint is when I pay for the tollway and then I sit in stop-and-go traffic on the tollway.
Do you want me to answer what my response to that is? Do you want me to tell you? Okay. My response is I don't get mad at them. I don't like it, but I'm like, whatever. I don't pay to go on the toll road. Here's why. My philosophy is I use Waze, the Waze app, because I think it's better. And it tells me which way is quicker, and it tells me my options. I take the quickest option unless it's 1 or 2 minutes or something like that, then I'm not going to pay a toll road, okay? If it's like a 5 to 10 minute option, especially if I'm crunched for time, I will pay it. And if it's backed up, I still know that it's been budgeted in, and that's with the extra time included. So I don't get mad about it. I go the way I need to go when I need to go it, and I don't get mad at them. I don't like it. I'm like, this is pathetic. What do you expect them to do, Scott? I mean, I'm not being mean to you. I'm just saying, like, this is my response. What do you expect him to do? Do you expect him to have an extra magic lane that appears when it's busier like this?
No, it's just frustrating that you've paid for that and sat in it. And the other problem that I have is out here in Rowlett, as we come up onto the George Bush, you cannot take a feeder road. So you don't have the option.
But can't you, from Rowlett, go, and I've been to Rowlett, I don't know if over the years, of course, can't you go east-west and then north-south based on certain roads? I mean, you're not...
You can, and it will add multiple minutes, multiple stoplights. And
I'll tell you, the two big toll roads I go on over the almost 15 years 14 and a half years I've been here is George Bush and Dallas North Tollway. Those are my two ones. Yeah. So I'm very familiar with what you're talking about. But I have friends. Let me also tell you what I've thought on this. I have friends who live in a lot of them that live in Wiley and that area, and I'm like, I would never. I looked at houses there, but I would never do there because I am not going to spend 20 minutes to get to Central Expressway. I am not going to spend 20 minutes to get to Dallas North or what do you call it, George Bush. I'm not going to do that. Because my thing is, I want to be able to get into work without heavy traffic within a half hour or less. So I think that's part of living in Rowlett and Wiley and other communities like that. And, that makes sense?
Oh, yes. It's tough to, pick your traffic pattern. I'm glad you were able to do that.
I paid a premium. I paid a premium for the house. I can tell you that right now. People that could afford where I'm at, including myself, when I bought, cannot afford it now. I have a dear friend, a couple that bought in Mesquite because they literally could not afford where I'm at, and they looked and they want to be where I'm at. I'm not saying I'm or I'm any better. I'm saying I specifically wanted to be there, be where I'm at, and I paid a premium for it. And but I refuse to go off a tollway, and I refuse to spend 20 minutes getting to a major highway.
Well, I think you're confirming what I was saying.
What?
Why be next to the tollway when you got to pay for a parking lot?
Oh, because you're going so slow, and you're paying for the tollway.
Exactly.
Well, here's why.
I paid to be next to it, and then I've got to pay because there's no alternative. I can't go up a feeder road. There's nothing. Right. And so that's where my philosophy comes in. And I'm not knocking you. I'm saying I refuse to buy a house off a tollway, and I refuse to buy a house that was 15, 20 minutes from a major highway. And therefore, my options are manifold, and half of them involve tollways. And when I need to, I take the tollway, and I don't worry about it. And when I need to go when I have to go across the DFW Metroplex, which I've done for 2 or 3 times the past couple of weeks, I guarantee I don't know how much I've paid, but I just do it as a cost of business. And I'm like, whatever. It shows up on my card.
Yes, I want it to show up on your card. Okay. I would like for Scott for it to show up on your card, sir. Will you work with me on that? Can I get an extra toll tag and put it up on my card only when it's like that?
Only for you.
Woohoo!
I will do that for you.
Yes! Scott, thanks to you, I'm going to be moving right off the tollway, and I'm going to be going on the tollway every day now.
I've been listening to you forever, and I love you, brother.
Thank you. I love you too, man. Thank you. God bless you. All right, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you prefer paying more for tolls instead of waiting in traffic? And are you okay with instead okay with just waiting tons of extra times and having all the traffic so that you don't have to pay tolls? 800-288-9227 is our number, 800-288-WBAP. More on how the explosive growth we've seen led to a toll road building spree. Next. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. Toll roads. We're talking about toll roads. One woman featured here that has worked at the, that's pretty interesting. She's worked at the Salmon Center for the Arts, downtown Dallas, for 30 years. She lives in Grapevine, and she refuses to go on the tollway. She's like one of my buddies who lives in South Lake. Even though he's done very well over the years, he refuses to take the toll roads. I marvel at it. I'm like, dude, you really don't mind spending an extra 30 minutes on your way in, for example, just because of this? It's amazing, isn't it? So I refuse to live by a tollway, and I refuse to live 15 to 20 minutes off of the highway. That's one of the reasons why my toll road bills are pretty minimal, and why I use the toll road without hesitation when the directions call for it. Okay? So how do you do this? Do you prefer paying more for tolls instead of waiting in traffic, or do you actually say, I refuse to do this because of that? I respect you if you do. I just want to hear how your patterns are, what you've chosen to do. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. This woman who I mentioned here, who works at the Salmon Center for the Art downtown Dallas, one leg of the tollway, 1 to 3 miles less, could cost $4 to $6 or more. So it's $6.81 for this leg. Now it's $14. It just changed because of dynamic pricing when it's heavier traffic, plus 88 cents. But once you're on it, you cannot get off of it. And if you don't have a toll tag, it's $10. Man, you can have dinner for that amount. Good for her, but no way for me. I have been at 114 stuff or 183 stuff, and wherever there's a toll, if I'm in a hurry, I take it. Because I don't normally do that. So I'm like, whatever. I don't even care what the price is. I just go. All right? Maybe I'll care when a bill comes in, but it happens so infrequently it doesn't affect me. So then it's worth it. It's the everydayness of it. That's why I refuse to live in that situation. Unless I can literally knock $200 a month off my mortgage, I will not live off of a tollway. That's just how I roll. It is what it is, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. She says, I'm not going to pay for 2 minutes, especially if I get a truck in front of me because they just slow down and they don't go the speed limit. Yeah, even if they go the speed limit, I hate that, but you're still going to go faster than the free lane. So that's just how I roll. All right, next, stubbornly high rents preventing the Fed from finishing the inflation fight. For more than a year, central bank is expected slowing rent increases to show up, but they're not at all. We're going to talk about this, the economy overall and inflation. Where are you getting hit the hardest from Bidenomics and Bidenflation? Man, we talked about this weekend, my wife and I did. And how much of an impact do you think this is having on your finances? I can't wait to get into that with you coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.